Hello, I am Avery Amundsen, and I do an amazing Cher impression.
Do you believe in life after love?
Laurie hasn't been introduced yet, so.
Cut that.
I'm not going to do it on air. You have to earn that. We have to get like 50 subscribers at least, I would say. 50 subscribers, I will do my Cher impression on the pod for all to be saved in perpetuity.
I'm Tony Lieb, and I can do a pretty good didgeridoo. And I will also commit to a later performance if people start to care.
Okay, I love that. You heard it here first. 50 subs, impressions. And today, we have Laurie DePhillips with us, who has already jumped in with a little jingle. We love it. Hello, Laurie.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
Well, now I'd like to know, can you sing Prince songs?
Oh, I can work on that.
Okay.
But specifically what nailed down my Cher impression was her recent Christmas album, which is a bop. But there is one song called DJ Play a Christmas Song. I can nail it front to back.
All right.
So what is your red thing that you have for us today?
Well, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Prince song Little Red Corvette.
So Prince is one of those artists that I am like, I need to spend more time with because I know I love it, but I have not dove into the beautiful purple world.
I can be
of
your
Prince.
guide.
Please.
I love Prince.
Tell me about your experiences with the song then.
Well, I'm not really here to talk about the song.
Love it.
I'm here to talk about an actual red Corvette.
Perfection.
Yes. And what gave me this idea is across the street from us, Nostalgic something is the name of that company that has all those old cars.
Yeah.
They have a red Corvette over there that's like 80 something. And it reminded me the very first car young Laurie ever drove was a 1987 red Corvette.
That's illegal, I think, because you're not supposed to have a cool car as your first car.
It was not my first car. It was the first car I ever drove.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know, 12.
Shut up.
So it was actually illegal that I was driving it.
See, I had a feeling.
Yeah. So my dad went through what you would consider, I guess, a midlife crisis. But
Sounds like it.
yes, he always wanted a Corvette, grew up very poor, one of 10 kids, but loved cars and always had crap cars. Someday he was going to have a red Corvette. And so he got one. And we only had it for about a summer because it coincided with the year my sister was 16. And she kept taking it and driving it, which, didn't
And
go
he's
well.
like, absolutely not.
Yeah, so it was short-lived in the DePhillips family, but he was like, I can't have this car and not allow all of my children to drive it.
Shut up. So I was going to ask, like, did you sneak into the car? But no, your dad was like, you need a turn.
I was 12. I mean, well, I say that like shocked, but then like it may have led me down the life of crime because I did, quote unquote, steal a car. I borrowed a car when I was like 15,
How?
14.
How did you hotwire it?
No. I was in 8th grade, and because this kind of set off the trajectory of like, I knew how to drive.
Right. I mean, you've been driving a red Corvette for 5 minutes.
Right. And so a friend of mine, her sister had just gotten like a Mustang. And I was at her house and the parents were gone for the day. And I'm like, I can drive this. So we took the Mustang out and went on a joyride around the neighborhood, pulled up to the driveway, and there is the dad standing in the driveway. You just know things are not going to end well. Yeah.
Oh, and you were in 8th grade, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's now become the joke that I stole a car.
My cousin and I laugh about this, but for some reason, only my cousin Erica was visiting us in Des Moines, which was rare because like usually all the siblings come from Kansas City, but it was just my cousin Erica. And it was like sometime in the summer where it's like I was going to driver's ed and then I also had like swim camp and then I would come home and she was there and then we'd have to find stuff to do for the rest of the day. She was there for a week. So I'm like, well, I'm in driver's ed, so I know how to drive.
I love that everyone thinks they know how to drive.
I know. And I'm just like, well, basically I just already learned how to do this. So, and we took a quote unquote, joy ride in my mom's minivan.
Yes.
Around, and like our neighborhood was kind of off on a dead end at that point. So we just like, the neighborhood was kind of one big loop and we were going like 10 miles an hour and we're like, let's pump up the tunes. And we like did one lap. We came back and we're like, let's do it again. We get back in the car.
What were you listening to? What were the tunes?
I don't remember. It was probably just like not Christian radio.
you were doubly in trouble.
Yes, and then a big hack. My sister and I learned we would have to switch the radio back to the station it was before you turn the car off.
Oh, they're gonna remember. Yeah.
Because they'll know if
Yeah.
it turns on.
And like Britney Spears starts jamming.
Well, the car memories for me, right? So like the farm kids got their license early because they could get their farm permit, and so they'd like pick you up, and it was like, oh, looking back, it's like, oh, that's kind of dangerous. But as someone who's raising a 15-year-old who's never driven before,
It's scarier.
this is, dude, it is. I have felt feelings in the last couple months that I've never felt with my child.
But do you think, because of like what we just said, like we were a little more dangerous as children, like it seemed less, because I'm with you, like I've been taking my niece out and she's horrible.
So
also,
bad.
she doesn't really want to drive, which is weird. I couldn't
They're scared.
wait. Yes.
Oh, I couldn't wait to drive.
And so like, do you think that maybe because we were a little more dangerous as children, like it was easier?
Yeah.
And it was just like, go figure it out.
That was definitely, and you just had some exposure to everything, for better or worse, right? Like, and now it was just like we're starting at zero. Literally, which foot do I use? I think we've gone too far.
Sure.
I have a whole angle on bike helmets, which is probably controversial.
I'm sure it
I
is
would like to hear it. I
controversial.
like that.
Okay, so my
Controversy.
wife really wants me to get a bike helmet.
Yeah.
Wait, you bike without one currently?
Yeah. Here's the deal. I'm 43.
Nice knowing you, Tony.
And now, if you're a cyclist and you ride trails and you're like legit, whatever. But as a child, you could bike around the block without a helmet on.
Right.
and
But you
no one got hurt.
shouldn't.
That's essentially what I do. Here's my thing.
Like we're older.
I'm not
but
disagreeing with
we didn't
you.
have helmets.
I mean,
when
I
we
guess
were kids,
technically
to be
I am.
fair. Do you wear a helmet when you play hockey?
Oh, yeah.
So you're like hockey. I gotta like pad up and all that, but
But
biking.
but there's I think there's an interesting discussion in all of this, in that we kind of have a culture of keep padding, do more things, block it up. But people, there's actually like, it could be argued, and I have no stats here, so I'm not going to stand by it, but like that there's actually more injuries because people think, oh, I have the pads on. I can go as hard as I want.
Interesting.
I have, or like, I can't really get hurt. And it's like, if you go backwards, you actually remember what your body feels like, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to risk that. But I think it's that exposure thing of like, there is some danger, but also these are dangerous things.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know how to drive a bike correctly,
And that's kind of where the fun is.
or you don't know how to drive a car correctly, there's danger in that. You
dangerous.
actually, and so my daughter's best turnaround moment from driving was when she hit the gas instead of a brake coming out of Panda Express.
Yeah. And
we almost got T-boned, and I did not have a good dad moment, and I was like, you can't do that. What are you
really
doing?
What you said? You can't do that.
I think,
I've never tried harder. I didn't swear.
oh, you are so strong.
You have a lot of
but
like.
You've got that on lock.
If my faith life was not what it was,
Yes.
I would have like every possible one. Like I swallowed all of them. But then we got home, and we took a break because we weren't speaking to each other. And then
That's healthy. I'm glad.
we got back on the horse, and we went
Yeah.
back out, and it was like, okay, you understand now that this is like real.
Yeah.
And I actually had to parent less because
Yeah.
life had taught her you actually could crash your car.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
so I think there is a little bit of, we've patted everyone so they don't get hurt a little bit. I think it has the potential to not realize the danger that there may be
Yeah.
up against.
The real life consequences.
But I get it. Like, I do think there's some validity in being a 12-year-old driving a Corvette where, well, it may be illegal. It may have actually been like one of the safest decisions that your dad made for you.
Well, I will say too. So we lived in a small town in Indiana called Seymour, Indiana, home of John Mellencamp.
Wow.
Yeah, the song.
You were
Small
literally
Town.
born in a small town.
Well, I wasn't born there.
Okay.
I was born in
You
Iowa.
lived in a small
but
town.
I lived in a small town,
Yes.
which is also
there we
a
go.
lyric in the
Just a
song.
small town girl.
So living in a lonely world. Yep. I did. He took us out to the airport, which you guys know what small town airports are like, right?
Just
it's the
deserted.
greatest
Yeah.
place to go. There's nothing
Just
around.
land.
There's
Yeah.
nobody around. And I was the 1 foot gas, 1 foot brake.
Oh.
But like right out of the gate, like I was like, told that you don't do that. So there was a quick 5-minute lesson. And then it turned into like, go faster. And I do feel like
Yeah.
that one lesson changed the course of my driving life. I could argue that's why I have a lead foot now. I don't know. Driving a Subaru and a Corvette are a little different, but somewhat similar.
And that was your dad being like, go faster.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sports car.
Yeah. And he's like, I mean, if we're going to get rid of this thing and I'm going to have all my kids drive
Right.
it, you need to experience the full beauty.
Right.
So did you like go fast, or did you just?
No,
Yeah.
I was pretty scared.
Yeah,
I mean, the
that's
first time
scary.
you get behind the wheel of a car, I don't care how confident you think you are. Like, that's scary. And so if I was 16, like my sister was, I mean, she had fun in that car. She took that car all over the town. And because it was a small town and probably the only red Corvette in town,
Sure.
she had this blonde hair flying out the back. Like, everybody knew who she was, which she loved.
She loved.
Until they were all, hey, John, we saw your daughter out. And he's like, "Ugh!" You know, so. But all this to say, when I looked across the parking lot and saw this Corvette over there, like, I don't know those people, but I want to walk into that business and say, what's the story with this car? Like, can I rent it for a day?
Can it
like,
be a
I don't
red
really
dot
know what that business is, but
vehicle?
I feel like
They rated you classic cars.
But like to sell?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I would love to just be like, can I just like an hour? Just an hour in this
I'm
car.
sure they might. I was going to say I'm sure they would, but actually I don't know them either.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth chatting and finding out.
Yeah, I mean the worst they can say
because
is
they
no.
have great cars over there.
They're amazing.
Wasn't there one you were geeking out over, Tony?
They had an International Scout black with like gold trim, and I just
Gorge.
like I just got out and stared at it, and then I was like, how much is that? I knew I can't afford it, right?
How much
Because
is
they
that
take them
doggy
when
in
they
the
redo
window?
it,
Yeah.
and then I like leave knowing I can't afford it. Or the wife was like, I don't know. I'd have to check with my husband and let you know. So I was like, okay, this dream's not gonna happen. And literally a car parked on the wrong side of the street. The guy just got out, and it was like a bug to a light, and he just walked right to it. It was like,
Give
I'm
me
pretty
that.
sure he just bought it.
What?
So yeah, so they have beautiful cars over there. So shout
We
out
might
Valley
need
Junction.
to just like walk over there and like meet them
They're super nice.
and
The
just
owner's
like
really nice.
let us tour your lot.
My grandpa, he was a driver's ed teacher. And so, yes.
Was he your driver's ed teacher?
No, he wasn't. I never got to learn with him. And I almost wish I did because he had that same style of like, just get out there on the road. You're going to figure it out. My oldest cousin learned to drive with him a little bit. And she is very like, she likes to be safe. She likes to be in control. She's one of those people like, and he was like, we're getting on the highway. She's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, only way you're going to learn is if you get out on there and you start doing it. She's like, oh, I haven't practiced or I haven't. He's like, you're going to practice right now. And we're going to go. Like last time I talked to her about it, she was like, I was absolutely terrified. It was a terrible experience. I hated it. I never,
But she learned.
but she learned. And
imagine now, like, Tony, imagine this. Not only are you teaching your kids to drive, but you have to now teach them how to drive a stick. Oh. Like, that's something you don't have to deal with now, but like, I had to learn how, after I learned to drive, I had to then learn how to drive a stick. And it's similar in that what made me think of this is I was scared and I was kind of getting it, but then my cousin actually was the one who taught me, and she's like, I'm going to take you to a hill. You learn real quick if you start rolling backwards and there's cars coming up behind you. And I'm sweating, we're screaming, all the things, but
you learned.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So you just gotta like throw in the deep end,
Yeah.
right? Well, I think the moral of the story is when teaching kids to drive, you just gotta like make them do it. So like Sienna, my oldest niece, she refuses to learn how to park. Like she was like, I'll drive anywhere on like, you know, neighborhood streets, but I can't park. I'm like, well, how are you going to learn? I was like, let's drive up to Casey's and get a pizza. I can't. You have to park.
And it's not just parallel parking, but like any kind of parking
That's what
spot.
I told her. I was like, we're not even parallel parking. You're pulling into a spot in Casey's. No, she won't do it.
That's wild.
Sundays our cadence is we usually go to church and we do something out in nature in the afternoon. So especially my oldest daughter, we're going to go for a hike or whatever.
I know, I love it.
And we're going for the hike and we're going to go to Ledges.
Yep.
And so the little other two, so I have 3 daughters. We're all going to go up to Ledges. We're going to have and my wife's like, cool, everyone leave.
See ya.
Good. So we're going to go to Ledges. And in my brain, it's, okay, you just go that little bit of interstate or whatever, and then you go, and it's just like pretty much a straight shot. That, when you're driving with a 15-year-old, that little bit of interstate is a death trap.
It's like the
In a place of
Autobahn
fear,
in Germany.
So what was supposed to be a peaceful afternoon is me just rage screaming at my daughter, like, get over, get over, get over. If you don't check. And she does this thing where she's really good at school. She's like, technically, I checked my shoulder, but it's like, did you look?
Did you look? Yeah.
Did you actually
Did you see?
look? She's like,
No.
well, I turned my head in that direction.
Okay, that's so
and I
real
have
because
done
that
it.
was me. I'm not even lying. I would like turn my head over
Avery.
and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for.
I'm like, you gotta look, dude. You got.
And I'm like, well, if it's in my blind spot, how can I see it? It's my blind spot. And they're like, well, that's what. And no one showed me. I think it's so valuable to like sit in the driver's seat and look at your mirrors and have someone walk around the car so that
Ooh,
you
that's
can
smart.
see where
I've
your
never
blind
thought
spot
of
was because I didn't know. And so I'm like, well, I know if someone's over there. So it took me a long time to figure, longer than it should have, I should say. Sorry, Dad.
So long story short, it was a mistake to me to let her drive that way. And so we, again, had a confrontation. We're not talking. And then I forgot I have 2 more in the back who had watched us just. So I go,
And they're like, who's this dad that we have today?
I know, they're like, we can't
Yes,
wait to
yeah.
learn to drive.
And so my middle one just goes, Lucy, just speed up and stay in your lane. It's not that hard.
That's the littlest one.
That's the middle one. Because she has no problem telling her what's up. And my dad's like, yeah, this is scary, kind of, or whatever. And we're just flying. And so, yeah, we got there. We bonded in the waters of Ledges State Park.
At any point, has your daughter been like, okay, I'm done with you, Mom, tag in?
No, Mom's just like, way not going to happen.
Okay.
It's like we don't even, just our family dynamic was just like, this isn't going to work.
not gonna
That's
work.
going to be
It's
just
not.
another level of.
And later,
don't
my
go
wife did
there.
try. So I've learned some for the next one. I actually think the next one, what I've learned is, there's people that flow and there's people that don't flow. What I mean by that is there's people that are like way book smart, but they're like more technical. And then there's people that like can't kind of do step 1, 2, 3, 4, but they just kind of like flow. They kind of
They're
groove
street,
a little bit.
I was gonna
street
say,
smart,
street
if
smart.
you will.
Yeah.
And my middle one's way more
They
of a
can like
flow.
figure it out, contextual clues. You just throw them in. They're like, I'm going to figure it out.
She's just going to
I'm
go.
gonna tread
She's
water.
an artist. She's
Yeah.
just going to kind of do her thing. I think she's going to be way better because what the first one had, she knew the rules, but she didn't like the only rules are don't kill anyone, including yourself.
Right.
That's and she's like, but what about?
But what else? Yeah.
Section B, Part 2, check the lane thing. And I was like, none of that matters. That is all in service of no death.
Yeah.
And she got it. She passed. She got a 92 on her test.
Of course she did.
We're getting her a 2008 Toyota Yaris.
Yeah, you are.
There are some Corvettes across the street.
Yeah.
Just consider.
I wouldn't even let
You know,
her
it's a
look.
great first car.
You can't go tight right in a Corvette.
Now, is the Toyota Yaris like a smaller vehicle?
It's barely a car.
Okay. Because like when you're
It's
thinking
a
about
bike
parking
with a motor.
and whatnot as a child, like
She
that
drove it
sounds
way
great.
better. Yeah. And yeah,
And that Yaris has like the roll down windows still, doesn't it?
she's gonna have to reach over.
Yeah.
Which
Yes.
I'm obsessed with.
I love that.
Like, yes, that's
Is there a tape deck? Like,
Nope, there's a USB so she can put in her
Okay.
phone
Okay.
and listen to whatever music she wants to.
the journey I took from the first drive of the Corvette to at one point in college, I was driving a Dodge Neon, and the speedometer didn't work. The windows were manual, and the
Crank.
one didn't roll up. So when it rained, I had a towel that I'd roll up and put up there. So, but I did have in high school, I did have a Buick, which had like giant numbers, because they're for old people. And my brother put in a subwoofer. And I had the CD player that was in the trunk that was like, 5 or 10 discs. And so like here I am playing the Nelly Country Grammar album as one does in 1999.
I had a Buick Regal with a leaky sunlight or a roof.
Did it
thing.
also have giant numbers?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
digital dash.
Yes. Huge.
And it would go. brrr. And we sold it for like $1,500, and then the transmission went out like the next day. So my dad gave the guy $500 back. So I didn't want to tell him how bad the car, because it was probably like I wasn't driving it very well. I miss when seats were flat, like a couch, and soft.
the
Like
bench
Buick's-
seating.
Yeah, bench seating. You could fold the thing up.
You
and
sure could.
It was more like way
The
more.
front seat was just
Everyone
one
wasn't trying to
bench.
be a race car driver.
Yeah.
We were just hanging.
You're just cruising,
Although I
man.
will say that's the good thing about driving a stick is you feel a little bit like a race car driver. Like I kind of miss it. I don't know that I would want one full time, but I would like to test the waters, see that I could still do it. But like even though I was in a Dodge Neon, I drove that thing like I was Cole Trickle.
We've talked about you were a smoker in high school as
I,
well, right?
I was.
Something about
quit
back
airing
in
my
the
dirty
day.
laundry, man.
Back in the day,
That's what this is for.
Everyone that drove a stick somehow also smoked and did them at the
Yes.
same time, and it was always
That's so
the
cool.
You
most
could also drink a Diet
dangerous-
Coke too. Like there were, I mean,
Brat
you could
Summer.
do so many things.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Well, we didn't have phones, so
Right.
like I didn't have a phone that I was trying to juggle.
No,
The neon was really bad. Like my cars got progressively worse.
Well, when you start with a red Corvette, you're only going to go down from there.
I know. I do want to like say that I didn't actually start. Like my first car was a Nissan Sentra, which I loved, and then entered the Buick, and then the next year entered Dodge Neon, and that neon just didn't die. I think that I care more about cars now. Like I want a nice ride, and
Yeah, it's part of your dad's
bouncing.
legacy. Get a great car. Yeah.
So maybe I'll go across the street and buy this Corvette. I'm just
Please.
kidding. I'm not doing that. I can't afford that.
Just get in it. Just sit in it.
Right. Like I just want it for like an hour. A little Ferris Bueller's Day Off moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfection. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to Things That Are Red. This has been a Red Dot Labs production. For more episodes and information, check out red.ad.com and be sure to follow Red Dot Branding and Marketing on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.